All right, we can get started. This is our agenda. We'll start with introductions and then some announcements. We have a special welcome message from James Fisher, and then we'll move on to the fun stuff that Patrick and Josh are playing today. And once I pass the ball to them, they can introduce themselves. Carolyn, I want to make sure that we are recording. I think, yeah, we're recording, so we're good to go. All right, let's get started. All right, so we are Qlik Meetup captains. I highly recommend, I don't know who's joined, I think there's some people outside of Atlanta, and if where you are, you do not have a Qlik Meetup, we highly recommend that you create one. It's been really, really fun to connect with other Qlikies. So I'm Claudia Scott. I'm a Qlik captain and Qlik luminary, and I work for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and I'll let Shilpan introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for joining, and thanks to Patrick and Josh both to give their time to speak to our first virtual meetup. I'm truly excited. As Claudia said, I also am luminary for the last 3 years. I'm really passionate about Qlik, sharing knowledge, and we're really humble and honored to have these two experts come in and talk about Qlik. So hopefully this will be a great event. I got to run out, that's why I don't have a camera or anything, but Claudia, you're in good hands with Claudia. So thank you both again for helping us out with our first virtual event.
Yeah, and big thanks to Carolyn for helping us with this out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, forgot about Carolyn. Carolyn and Jillian both.
And Jillian, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Back to you, Claudia.
Yeah, so one thing I want to point out is, like, again, I highly recommend if you are in an area where there isn't one, look how many we have right now. You know, but there's still spots where there isn't one. So, you know, I highly recommend you host one. In the meantime, if you want to join others, go to meetup.com/pro/Qlik and find what's coming up. There's a lot of sessions. I've been joining others. We are, you know, you're not going to hurt our feelings for joining other meetups, virtual meetups. They're fantastic. You know, you can practice your Scotland accent by joining them. I think they're actually running every other week or something. Or if you want to practice your Spanish, join a Spanish-speaking one. So anyways, it's been really fun joining others, and I highly recommend that you do that, and this is where you go. I also came across this video, actually it was on LinkedIn, of Michael Tarallo. It's a short video, but it's really cool. You know, Qlik World is coming up, and if you haven't registered, highly recommend. It's free, so no brainer. 24th and the 25th, and he will guide you through, you know, how you can learn about upcoming topics. So worth looking into it. Sign up early. Shilpan is actually going to speak, so we're very excited about that. Lots of success stories from Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, so we're very excited about his presentation. All right, we have a welcome message from James Fisher. Hopefully the audio will work out. Let's see how it goes.
Hi everybody, James Fisher, Chief Products Officer at Qlik here, and I'd like to welcome you to this Atlanta meetup. I want to pass my thanks on to Claudia and to Shilpan for arranging this great event. Meetups are critically important to us at Qlik. It provides a great opportunity for us to come together in person and more commonly now virtually to talk and to discuss everything that's happening in Qlik in our ecosystem. I thought I'd deliver this video from a corner of my garden here in London, in the UK. And of course, I'm very sorry that I can't be there in Atlanta, which is an incredible city and a place that I've spent a lot of time in the past. More often than not playing golf, actually, which of course is one of the great draws of the Atlanta region, but of course not all of them. So today you're going to be spending time with Claudia and Shilpan and also Patrik Lundblad, and hopefully you're going to get the opportunity to talk about everything that's going on in the world of Qlik, how we're thinking about data and analytics, to share your ideas, your use cases, and ultimately come together to really have a vibrant discussion about how data and analytics is adding value to your organizations, to your ecosystems, and ultimately how we can work better together. At Qlik, our vision continues to be built around the notion of delivering value to our customers, delivering value across the data and analytics supply chain. That's why we continue to invest in the key components of our portfolio. The investments in our data integration platform bring those products much more close to the center of the Qlik product portfolio. We've aligned our data integration products now with our 10-week release cycle. So April was in fact the first time that we released our data integration and data analytics products all at the same time. As you're listening to this video, we'll be just about to release the June release as well, which again will bring together components from right across our product portfolio. On the data analytics side, again, we continue to drive pace of innovation through the year. We started in February with hitting the ground running out of the gate with a lot of new content. And as Patrik is a great advocacy for our visualization framework, that continues to be one of the big focuses of our overall release strategy. But of course, it's not limited to that. We also continue a pace of innovation through our cloud service, delivering monthly releases to cloud. And as I said, through April and June, that pace of innovation across both the data integration and the data analytics portfolio continues to evolve. Meetups are a great place for you to talk and understand more about what's happening within the product portfolio, but also the Qlik Insider events are a great opportunity for you to hear from my team, my colleagues across the business, to share what we're doing in each of these new releases and provide you the tools you need to understand how you can generate more value by consuming more of those capabilities that are overall part of the Qlik platform. This is very much an ecosystem driven play, of course, and the product ecosystem that we have encompasses our data integration, data analytics products. Of course, it includes our approach to data literacy as a service, which is really a holistic approach to how we bring together all of the different components around customer success, support, consulting, and education to help enrich the consumption of the portfolio, and as well bring together all those elements from outside in our wider ecosystem of partners that are helping deliver innovation and are helping you build on the technology platform that we have. We'll continue to invest in that, and Qlik Community and the ideation process that we put in place on Qlik Community is a great way for us to start capturing the feedback that comes from your discussions within your organizations, as well as events like this. I really strongly encourage you to join other Qlik customers, other Qlik partners, and for the first time, Qlik team members in a singular place where we can ideate on the new things that can drive our vision and roadmap moving forward. On one hand, they could be feature function type capabilities. On the other hand, they could be much richer use cases in terms of how we bring together data integration and data analytics. In particular, I'm really interested as you go through these discussions today to understand what opportunities you see for Qlik to drive more value. How can we exploit synergies between the data integration capabilities that we have, data ops for analytics, that notion of building data pipelines with that rich, robust data analytics platform that we have, supporting a range of analytics use cases from guided analytics to self-service, but increasingly through mobile, embedded, and conversational analytics use cases. Again, this is a great event. Great opportunity to learn from Qlik. I'm not going to miss the opportunity to plug the upcoming Qlik World Online event where Rick Jackson and I will be delivering our product. More detail around our vision across our data integration and data analytics portfolio and sharing some examples about how we see those things coming together. But for the time being, I hope you have a great day today. I want to thank Claudia and Shilpan again for pulling this great event together. I want to thank you for your time in joining this event, and I wish you a great day. Goodbye from London. Bye-bye.
All right. It's sometimes very tricky to share video, so I hope the quality was okay and you guys could hear the message. All right. Let's move on to the good stuff. So we'll start with Patrik Lundblad and move on to Josh Good, and they have promised no boring slides, just fun. So why don't we get started? Patrik?
Sounds great. So I could hear the video well, so hopefully everyone else could. Slightly worried about James and his haircut.
Yeah.
Let's see. So my name is Patrik Lundblad. I am partially a visualization advocate. So I write about the on the blog. So I can show that later on about some visualization topics. I do presentation on best practice and things like that. My second job, because I mean, one job isn't enough, is to be a lead product designer, which means that I work together with R&D here in Lund, the birthplace of Qlik, about 2 kilometers in that direction. I want to live close to the office. That is close, by the way. And what I do there is that I sit in between the developers, the technical architects, the UX designers, the visual designers, the managers, and so on. And I represent the user, the customer. Because although they are great at technology, although they are great at user experience, sometimes they don't know what our product is, who it is for, and what they use it for. So whenever I see something on Twitter, for example, you've done something amazing, I always take a Photoshop of it. I always take a picture, I embed it, and I put it into our Slack channels to talk about this is how our product is being used. And the same thing if we're sitting in a meeting and wondering, do we want to do this feature in this method or that method? I'm always going to be there representing you as users and making sure it's in the best way in your interest, both as users of our product, but also as partners or technology partners using our APIs and features. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present parts of the February, April, and June release, and I'm going to show you some of those features. I'm also going to talk about why they were built in the way they were built, so that you can get maximum quality and value from those features. So I'm not going to spend too much on February and April. Those are been there, done that, they are shipped. But I'm going to do some of the things here so that you know what's in there and how it was done. So February was a really big one. We actually internally in R&D, we call it the global Christmas present because most of the work was done before Christmas. So last day at work was just rushing, getting everything in so we could ship it for Christmas, although it hit you as users slightly later. But a real Christmas present with a lot of features and functionalities. One of them is something that's been missing for a long time in Qlik Sense, and that is trend lines. So we added trend lines so far to the bar chart and the line chart. We are working towards the combo chart also, but we want to do the combo chart when we do the rewrite, which is in the progress, I can tell you. So bar chart and line chart had been upgraded new. That's why we can add this new technology to it. So when it comes to trend lines, it is mainly the same ones as in Qlik View. You have the different types, such as average. You have the linear ones. You have secondary polynomial. You have logarithmic, exponential, and power. So hopefully anything that you need should be in there. And the way that we did this, yeah, if you have any questions, the way that we did this when we added trend lines was to do it on the back end. So this is part of our APIs, meaning if you want to have trend lines in any of your extensions or any work you're doing, just having calculated, you can use the Qlik API to get that trend line. So that's an important distinction here, that this is on the back end. It's not calculated on the front end on the data only visible in the chart. It's calculated on all the data on the back end. We did it slightly similar as Qlik View. We decided to add it beneath the measure so that people know that on this measure, I want to have a trend line. So you can go in here, you can add it, you can put a label on it. My trend, it's, I mean, not that complicated. It's supposed to be easy. You can also do some auto settings in here, which colors you want to use if you want to have it dashed and so on. So really making it easy to add in one trend line or multiple trend lines. So yeah, 2 in here and slightly going to change it. And we also work slightly on the tooltip. So you can hover above a point here. You can see the value. You can see which trend it is. The one thing we know is missing is the equation. We want you to be able in the future to have the equation, copy it, and use it elsewhere. But that's still something that's missing. But TrendLens is backend capability, meaning you can use it yourself. Then I'm going to move over to line charts. So in February, we released a new version of the line chart. Hopefully, you shouldn't even have noticed it. You should just have gotten the new features, functionalities added to it, and the old line chart should be as before. We added in things like orientation of the line chart. It probably doesn't make sense from visualization best practice, but it's something we're working on towards the combo chart. We know people want to have horizontal and vertical combo charts, so that's why we're doing lines going down. We added in width. We know that people think our lines are really slim. Maybe they should be fattened up a little. We added in patterns such as if you want to have solid or dashed, and also if you want to have smooth line or straight lines, and some more control over the data point size. So much more control over how a line chart looks like. And what we did for this was to introduce a new pattern, UX pattern that we call overrides. We want it to be easy for you to actually take all the lines that you have and modify them so that they look good. Meaning that had this been Qlik view, we would probably have done it on a measure by measure basis. You would have gone into one measure, you would have changed the thickness line. You would have gone into the next measure, you would have changed the thickness line, third measure, and so on. In this case, we decided to go to overrides instead. So if I go into styling here, you can see that I have some styling panels up here, where I, for example, can increase the thickness of the line, and I can, for example, say that it should be dashed, and I don't want to have it that straight. I want to have it monotone, so slightly more curves. So it's an easy setting to modify all those lines. But then, of course, you want to have control. There might be one or two of these measures that you want to have represented in another way. So in this case here, for example, I can look at sales, and I can add it as an override to my setting. And if I open it up here, it's actually the same settings as up here that are global. These are instead local for this line. So I could change the thickness of sales to be even thicker or even smaller. And I can change it from a dashed line to a solid line. I can change it from a curved to a linear one. Meaning that it's easy to do quick styling and making all the lines look good. But at the same time, you can pick out one individual line and you can make it look the way they want. The thing we're still pondering upon, and would be great to have feedback from you, is should the override be located together with a setting, or should the override be available inside the measure? So that's something that we still haven't picked which option is the best, and we are fully prepared to change. But for now, if you want to add an override, you add it together with a setting and say, on this measure, I want it to look like that. So this is something that we're hopefully, if you like it, going to use in other patterns, in other charts and other features, so that it's easy to do large changes, but at the same time, you can do small changes also. Then I'm going to move on to table indicators. So we added into a chart that you can have more visual appeal. Everyone loves a nice table, but everyone thinks it's very boring. So that's where you have the ability to add in what we call table indicators. So I'm just going to show you how that's easily done. So what I can do in here is that I can take this table, I can go into one of my measures, and I can go down here at the bottom, and I can say how do I want it represented. So we have text before, we have indicator in the February release, and you're soon going to be able to see mini charts in the June release later in this demo. But let's get to indicators now. So indicators is very similar to the KPI and the gauge. So it's the same component. So you add in here a limit, you say what the limit is going to be. It can either be a static value or it can be an expression. And then you can add in a symbol indicating if it's a positive or maybe if it's a warning or a negative value and so on. And then there are some additional settings on top of this, such as do you want to have the value shown or not? Do you want to have apply colors or not? And do you want to have it on the right and left side? So hopefully an easy component to use. I think the main worry we have, and would be good to have your feedback from, since we're using this visual component, you cannot get as exact as you would using expressions, for example, or scripting or something like that. So we would like to know the scenarios where a GUI component like this doesn't really solve your case. So we have some examples on Twitter that I've seen where people have said that it's not as easy to use this threshold. For example, if I want to have color by a certain color depending on a certain value and so on. So we are prepared to change, but this is a good start if you want to have easy way of working with indicators. Yeah. And I think that's what I wanted to show for the February release and some of the things behind it. It was a really packed one. And I'm also going to show you an app later that shows you some of the things that have been shipped and when they've been shipped. So moving over to the April release. One of the big things is we added in a new chart called an org chart. So it is almost like a network chart showing you from the top to the bottom what are the, for example, the hierarchies within a product group, the hierarchies within a company, hierarchies within a state, and so on. So in this case here, I have an org chart with people employed in a company. You can see here that it's very interactive. You can zoom out, you can zoom in, you can pan around. You can also do expansions. So for example, I want to have Eric Presley and I want to expand it all the way down to Joan Collins. I'm going to see some improvements in the June release to this also. And I can expand it down here and I can go all the way down. Now the interesting part with an org chart is that there's actually two ways of doing selections. Either you're selecting the actual value. I'm interested in Joe Cheng. I want to see what his sales are, what he's been working on. The other way of doing selection, or so actually when I do selection here, you can see that I'm getting just this value. The other way of doing selection is to use this select single node, meaning that you can go in here and you can pick the different nodes. So this is more a direct value, which means that you could actually end up with orphans not having something on the top. So two different selections mode so that you can either pick a chain or you can pick an individual value. And the confusing part here that many people have been wondering about is how do you set up an org chart? And the way to do it, this is actually a container, so I'm going in here, is that you have two dimensions. The first dimension is the actual node, and the second dimension is the parent towards the node. So that's, we're not using something like a hierarchy load or anything like this script. This is just two pure dimensions and an indication of which is the node, which is the parent one. We have added modifiers. We started with a modifier in November, I think, which was accumulation. Then in February, we shipped also the difference ones and delta. We have a couple of more modifiers now. So we have the relative one in the April release. And what I'm going to do now is show you how I earn a lot of points on Qlik Community. So for example, you've all been on Qlik Community. You always have that person asking you, how can I do this expression if I want to accumulate the data across two dimensions in a drill down? Yeah, of course, you can sit there and you can start writing your expression. You can start trying it out. What you can also do is just go in here to the modifiers and add a modifier, such as accumulation, moving average, difference, or relative numbers. And then you can use this UI to pick how it's going to behave. Are we going to look at the current selection? Is it going to respect one dimension or disregard the dimensions? Are we going to have which dimension do we want it to be relative to? So all these things in here is just a UI to actually build an expression. So if I go in here, you can see based on the things I've written here, this is the expression I'm getting out. So modifiers compared to trend lines, it's not something that's on the back end. This is something that's on the front end, where we're taking the expression you input and using this UI, we are rewriting that expression, and that's what we're sending to the engine. So what I've done many times on Qlik Community is I've found some example data. I have found people asking things, and I loaded it into a later version of Qlik Sense, use the modifier to get this expression, and then I just copy it. And for example, I can put it into another chart that doesn't have modifiers. If I go in here, Control D, Control V. Ignore the error in expression. We know about it, but it actually works. Now if I click OK, I actually have relative numbers across 2 dimensions, 0 to 100% for one measure. So it's a really easy way of building up an expression and using it, for example, in a chart that doesn't support it, or using it in an earlier version that doesn't have this modifier added as a feature or functionality. And as far as I know, this should also work for extension if you're an extension developer. And if you approve that modifiers are available in your extension, then this small part here, modifier, should be able to show up in your extensions also. I personally haven't tested it because I don't write that many extensions myself. So slightly different compared to Trendlines, that it is on the front end, but it is something that you can copy paste between apps, between charts, and also add it to extensions. So those were some of the things that came in the February and the April release. So let's hit up with the June release instead. And I'm going to start with what I think is the biggest thing for the June release. And the comment I've seen so far is that Qlik View is back. It's almost a feeling of looking at a Qlik View app when you're looking at the mini charts in here. And I can tell you that we had great inspiration from Qlik View. I had Qlik View open for a couple of months. I think I even had it open more than Henrik Kronström. You doing mini charts in Qlik View, even encountering a couple of bugs that had me really wondering about it. So it is really a copy of Qlik View added to Qlik Sense, and hopefully we added some improvements towards it. So we have the lines with max min. We have the line with a point. We have the bars, the global axis settings, the dots, and the plus minus. I'm going to show you now how you can easily create this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a table here. So let's just do a table. One of the things that you're also going to see in the June release, I know that dragging and dropping, you get this square here, and you want it to fill up the entire space. Normally you take it here and you start moving it around. From the June release onwards, you can just double tap either a corner here, or if you, for example, double tap the side here in the middle, you're going to be able to expand it fully in that direction. It's just small quality of life improvements that makes it easier to expand a chart to fill the entire space. So I'm going to add in product name, and then I'm going to add in sales. Let's just do some sales. So another quality of life thing we added, I think this was actually back in the February release, is that many times people want to use master items because they are reusable. You can have information in there that you want to use across multiple charts. But to be honest, you never open up the master items and start creating a measure in there. You always go to a table or an appropriate chart, you write your expression, and then you start copy pasting your expression and your label towards the master item. So in the February release, we added this add new item down here. So if I click on it, you can see that this dialog pops up. So for example, I can go in here and I can write in some sales. I can write in sales. And then when I click add new, it pops up pre-populated with this information. And I can just create it. And as I create it, this one in here gets exchanged with a master item, meaning that it's now the master item I'm working with. And as a teaser, not for the June release, but we are looking at having number formatting saved together with a measure in the master item. So if there's discount percentage, of course, it should be percentage across all charts where you want to use it. So I have sales in here. I'm just going to add in the number formatting. So let's do money. And of course, the app was created by a Swede. So Swedish kroner, here we come. So I'm going to have this here, and I'm going to create a new column. Something that's new for the June release is right-click, and or is it April? Better remember, it's right-click and duplicate. So this is duplicate one measure within the same chart. So that's new for either April or June release. It gets confusing. We are also, small teaser, looking at the ability to copy a measure and paste it across other charts. So you don't have to add it to master items and then put it in another chart. So just be able to copy and paste it somewhere else. But still being looked at, but that's teaser only working on. So before, in the April release, we had text, we had indicator. Now we also have a mini chart. The first question is, of course, if you use a mini chart, across which dimension you want to do. So in this case, I want to do order months. You can see here, line chart coming up as standard. I can tell you that partially performance, but partially also, let's not blow the engine up by having novice users using this on a enterprise server. We have limited it to only be 100 values per cell. So if you have a dimension larger than 100 values right now, it will just be up to the 100 first values that we will do. And then in the option drop down here, you have, do you want to have it represented as bars? Do you want to have it represented as dots? Do you want to have it represented as sparkline? And what, for some odd reason, I've talked to a lot of people in Lund who are really old. I have no clue why it was called whiskers in QlikView. We decided to call it positive and negative. So positive and negative just means that it's a bar going up if it's a positive value, it's a bar going down if it's a negative value. We don't care about the actual amount, it's just positive or negative. So in this case here, I'm going to use, for example, a sparkline. We have some color options. You have the option of the line color, very similar to QlikView. You have the option of if you want to highlight, for example, max value. Probably not going to be able to see that easily with that color here. Let's do slightly gray towards instead. Let's do blue color for being a positive one. And let's do min color in here instead. I'm just going to use that. Let's use a red one in here. And then you also have the ability to set, for example, a first color or a last color. And from my perspective, don't use all these colors together. That's just way too many colors. So some more options in here around coloring, very similar to QlikView. I think the difference that we've done compared to QlikView is that we have some more settings when it comes to y-axis. You can either have a local max min, or you can have a global max min. And I believe if it's in the bars one, you can also have an option such as if you want to have 0 as center. So for example, if I go back to the sparkline, if I have it as auto, I'm going to have the max min values in here. If I have 0 as baseline, you're going to have things moving up so that, actually, let's do local instead here. So 0 as baseline means that it will start at 0 instead of starting at the minimum. Probably not going to see that much difference. And you also have 0 as center, meaning that we will add the max value or the min value, whichever is largest, will be the same on the top and the bottom. So mini charts are probably really hard to see this, but there's some settings in here around controlling the axis, how you want it to work. So the thing here with the mini chart is that we could have done it something like we want to have expressions, for example, so that you could do session objects, session charts in here. We decided instead that this is something that both we have a benefit from, but also partners. So we did this as an API. So within the Hypercube now, on top of one of these columns, we have something called a mini chart in there. So on top of a measure using the APIs, you can add a dimension on top of it, and you will get almost like a mini cube back within the larger cube. So for some odd reason, we're calling it cubes in cubes. That's how good we are at R&D. But this means that if you're an extension developer, if you think about any other feature where you want to have a chart inside something else, then you could use this measure and add a dimension on top of it, and you could have a chart rendered and calculated on the engine. So good improvement both for our users who are creating this type of mini charts, but also for extension developers and partners out there. The next thing is some small quality of life improvements. So one of the quality of life improvements for the table is highlight on hover. So you can go in here and you can go to the styling settings. Presentation, you have the styling panel similar to the line chart. And you can say, for example, do you want to have a highlight color? Which color should it be? Which color should the font color be? You also have the scroll bar. I know people are complaining that the scroll bar is really, really small. So you can, if you have a hard time hitting that scroll bar, you can increase the size of the scroll bar, size small, medium, and large. Okay. Same thing with the pivot table, also highlight on hover in the pivot table. Another thing is a new native chart. So we have had before in the visualization bundle a bullet chart. So I'm going to show you now, if I can find it up here, where you can read about more, because I don't have the time exactly to explain everything about the bullet chart. So let's just go to the Qlik blog, my name. And if you scroll down here, you can see a blog post about the bullet chart. So if you're interested in how a bullet chart works, I would say this is a place to start, or you can read up on other material. But a bullet chart is now native. The difference is that if you looked at the visualization bundle chart, the bullet chart accepted a dimension and a measure, meaning that you got something like a scrollable bullet chart. Well, the bullet chart we created now that is native has two options. Either it's a dimension or a measure, so you're getting a list of bullets, or it's just a list of measures, meaning that you can use measures of different magnitude, which is a big difference compared to the previous one. So I'm going to go in here now, and I'm going to drag the bullet chart out here. Double tap to make it larger. So you can see here, add dimension, add measure. In this case, for example, I can add in sales. I get a chart to render it. And then I can also go in here and add in discount. I can do, for example, an average discount. So you can see here in this chart, I actually have two axes. One that is, if I'm going to format this into money. And the other one is a percentage instead. So if I go in here and I've changed this to number formatting, number, and then go into percentage. And then I'm just going to divide it because the input data is always crappy as usual. So now you can see here, two bullets here with different magnitudes. And on each measure, I can add in segments. So similar to how we did in the indicator, I can add in a segment in here. I can add in a limit, for example, when a value is acceptable. I can also add in a target. For example, we want to have 45% as a target. So hopefully an easy way of building a bullet chart. And as I said, the main difference is you can have multiple measures in here, not just one dimension and one measure. Then we've done some improvements to the custom tooltip. So we added in two new settings on the custom tooltip. So if I go in here, if I go to appearance, so custom tooltip was something we started adding in February. We had the option of adding in more measures. Now and then in the April release, we had the ability to hide the basic rows in case there were a measure you didn't want to have shown in there. Now we also have the ability to add in a title and a description so that you can, for example, explain a bar to a user and explain what it means. So in this case here, I don't have any text, I just have the values. But if I go, for example, down to the line, you can see if I hover above here, I have a different description. If I go to the pie chart here, I can see that it's a number one women's wear. I can add a longer description in here. It's a control by expression, so you can put anything in here. Or I can, for example, do a women's wear and say that it's number 1 out of 8, and then have more information in here. So better control over what's presented to a user in form of the title of the tooltip, the text of the tooltip, but also what measures show up in the tooltip. And then lastly, before I go over to the Q&A, is all of these smaller improvements. One of the improvements that I've been longing for a long time is that many times when you go in and you go, for example, and you color by a measure, you haven't had the ability to do number formatting. It's always been some odd number. You had to go in there, use the num function. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So on top of attribute expressions, which is what we're using for this, we added to the engine the ability to do number formatting, meaning that if you, for example, color by something, if you size by something in the map, if there's any other place we use attribute expression, then you can now number format it so that if you hover on top of it, you can see that what is the currency of the color. And since we did this as an attribute expression, that means that the partners and other extension developers, if they use attribute expressions. If they want to have the number formatted, they can also use number formatting on the attribute expression. So big improvement, finally being able to have number formatting in more places where we use measures. The second part is that in the February release, we added in the button object. One of the things that people complained about was missing was being able to, for example, select a threshold. I want to be able to click a button. I want to select all sales above 30,000, below 2,000, any sale after 2010, and so on. So we have added in a new option in here. And I can tell you it's a mouthful. So it's the option of select values matching search criteria. And we had long discussions on Slack on what the hell to call this one. What it really means is that you select this option, select values matching a search criteria. You select against which field you want to have this search criteria, and then you say what is the search criteria. For example, when clicking on this button, I want to select all values larger than 2010. So clicking on it in here, I can click here, and you can see up here on year, I've selected 2010, 2011, and 2012. Now this also works with other search strings. For example, you can select the max year, clicking on a button, you select the latest year, max year -1, first year, anything like that. So more options around being able to do selections here. Then we had the org chart. We've done some small improvements to this. So for example, you have the fully expanded mode. You can have an org chart fully expanded, although it's one of those visualizations I have a hard problem looking at, because yes, it is a nice tree here, but it really lacks all the details. Or as we had before, auto expand, as you click, it will start expanding. So you will have to click and unclick and move around. But two different options now available in the org chart. And then lastly, this is something that was sent to me on Twitter, which is why can't we align the text in a list box? So before in a list box, if it was text, left align. If it was values, right align. If you did RTL, they switch places. But apparently people want to have control of this. So if you have auto, yes, we will do as before. If you turn off auto, you can either left align the list box, you can right align, or you can center align the text. So just some small quality of life improvements based on customer and user feedback. Also, we had copy cell value in tables before. Now we have copy cell values in list boxes also. So you can copy a value from list box, paste it somewhere else where you need it. So I think June also contains a lot of improvements. We are working on September release. I can tell you we haven't slowed down working from home. There are some really nice and cool features heading your way. I've hinted about some of them. But since we're not done with it yet, I can't really tell exactly what's going to be shipping. So if we want to do some Q&A, and then I'll leave it over to Josh to show you the parts outside of the analytics area.
Patrik,
yes, we have one question for Anand.
Patrik, you might want to show the visualization showcase.
Yeah, I forgot that. So yes, we also have, if you're seeing, well, so everything I've shown you today, at least in the released versions, what's been done is that this has been added to an app called Qlik Sense Visualization Showcase. If you go to demos.qlik.com/QlikSense, if you open up this app, then you can go in here and you can see, I'm just going to log in back. Then you can see all these different features, all these different charts, and what you can do with a product. So for example, if I want to have table indicators, I can go to the trend lines and indicators, and I can go to the app here and I can read more information about it. I can play around slightly with it, and I can also see when it was released in which version if you're wondering about it. Yeah. So great app if you want to see everything that's been created in the world of visualization and Qlik Sense.
We have one question from Anand.
Yeah.
He's asking, what will be the date-time interval for Sparkline?
So
If you unmute yourself, you're welcome to, because you have a second question as well. I can unmute you, actually. Would you like to ask?
Yeah, actually, there is Sparkline 10 points are there. Okay, so what exactly 10 points are presenting in Sparkline?
So the limitation is 100 data points. So whatever dimension you add, it will be the first 100 data points. But
Okay.
it's also that it's not a continuous axis. The axes aren't synced. So if you have January to December sales in one of those, and you have January to September, we will not place the January in the correct position towards the one on the top. So you're gonna have to have a master color or something to fill out all your dates and so on. So it is
Okay.
a discrete axis.
Okay. In my scenario, user will select months, but sometimes they will select also dates. Okay. So in that case, I think that will be the 10 points will be some dates or first dates. That's ascending or descending.
It should be the first 100 dates.
First 100 dates. Okay. Thank you.
That's the only question we have. If you want to ask another question, you can note on the chat, and I can unmute you. I don't see any comment, Patrick. So, oh,
I think it's time to Josh to blow them away with some of the things that we've done also in the June release.
awesome. All right, Josh, why don't you take over? Oh, somebody has a question.
Yeah, it looked like somebody had a question.
Hey, I have a question in the sense of just want to know. So when we use a container object, and it really make it not useful when I have a longer label, chart label. So most of the label is hidden, and the container object is starting from the left side. So whenever I'm presenting other charts, it doesn't really tell me that how many charts I'm showing, because my labels are stacked on the left-hand side, and it is very small. It is not covering the full width of the container, and some of the labels are hidden. So is there any feature that you think is coming in here next release that allow us to change the size of the container tab, or change a different color, or put additional text in there?
I would say until 10 or 20 seconds ago, no, it wasn't in the plan. I can tell you I will take the feedback back to me to R&D tomorrow, and we can discuss it. So no promises, but it's a great thing, that comment. And I'm also going to do a short one because this reminds me about something. I'm going to give you a secret about how part of development is done at Qlik, and that is through customer and user interaction. So I'm just going to sign in on Qlik Community. So if you wait 1 second. As always, when you try to demo something. So on the left-hand side here, you of course have many different tabs. One of them is my favorite. It's called Qlik Product, Insights, and Ideas. We have the technical preview for the June release. We also have the Ideas section down here. So if I click on this Ideas section here, you can see here that customers and users have given ideas on here. If I click on, for example, the top ideas, you can see here that people have input an idea, other people have given it a thumbs up, and then on the top ideas here, it has bubble up. So for example, if you look at all the things in here, you're probably going to see that some of the things that we're working on are based on them actually showing up on this ideas board here and bubbling up towards the top. We even have a Qlik Sense app connected to this that gets reloaded, that we monitor and see what is the top idea by the community right now. So yes, I will look at the container object, and I will look at the font setting, font colors, and so on. But I will also encourage you to, if you haven't already done an idea in here, to add it in as an idea, and also get the community to go in there, vote about it, comment about it, and talk about it, because we do look at this feedback as valuable feedback for our product development.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take 2 more questions. One from Sanjay. Sanjay, if you want to unmute yourself. Or if you can't, you can just type the question.
Yeah, hi, Claudia. Thank you. Patrick, I have a question for you. If you are using a container object and using bookmark, so the chart selection in a container object doesn't save along with bookmark. As well as if you have used a variable drop down in your dashboard, and if you save that as a bookmark, That also does not get saved along with the bookmark. Do you plan to incorporate this in coming versions?
So what we have done, and I don't know how this, I haven't tested this exactly with a container object, is that in the bookmarks now, since the April release, we have added in the layout option. So when you create a bookmark, you have both the option of saving the sheet location, if you want to have the bookmark associated with a sheet or not a sheet. You also have the save layout that, for example, going to save if a pivot table is expanded or collapsed, and also if you have rearranged the tables. I haven't tried this with a container object, but I would say that it would be something that we could look at to see if we can save the container index and also the variable together with a bookmark as part of the layout.
Right. So yeah,
I haven't tried
work.
It doesn't work now.
We have tried it, so it does not work. So it become a critical issue for us.
Yeah. No, that's something that we need to look at and see if it's something we can fix and work on. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, and the last question is from Ritesh. You want to unmute yourself, Ritesh?
Yeah, hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so my question is related to the drill down. So what we had done is we had created a dimension and we have put as master item and we had given specific colors to that particular dimension, such as category. But now user requested to have a drill down. So we have created a master item which is a drill down now with category and subcategory. But here now issue is like for the drill down, for the category, we are not able to give a specific color for those main category. But if we are not doing a drill down, then we can give a customized color. So is there any other way for that?
Short term, no. I think you would have to still do the expressions and so on. So there's no the part of the master items that you can assign colors on a drill down for now. No. So as I said, with many other things, it's things that we would need to look into, see if we can develop it. But it will also be great if you put it down as an idea at Qlik community, if you got your colleagues to go in there, vote on it, and that also gets our more attention towards for us towards that area.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. Appreciate you joining us today. All right, Josh.
Way easier to hear me when I'm not on mute, eh? So
Yeah.
you can hear me okay now? Great. So Patrick, really, wow. I mean, I'm always amazed at how much we've done on visualizations, and it's interesting how a lot of them are small things. It's just like, hey, you know, we had a little checkbox here, we had a little thing here. My favorite one is that you can add a master item from a chart right away, because that was one of the things I asked for at some point. I probably wasn't the only one. But
I had to count the amount of clicks to do it, and I realized that 2 clicks compared to 13 clicks. I know what I want.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a few things that I want to show. One is around what we're doing around Insight Advisor and natural language processing. I'm actually demoing this tenant that I'm using is actually on the June release, which will go out tomorrow. So you won't see this if you go in today, but tomorrow you'll see this. A lot of what I'll show actually you would see today, but everything will be out tomorrow. So you know, we're all very familiar. You don't want to watch me type, so I saved the search string. You know, I can type in sales by country. Insight Advisor will go out and it will come back and generate charts for me based on what I've typed in. I can also, of course, select from the fields here and get these charts and insights generated. So really useful. One thing that feedback that we've gotten is sometimes it doesn't really follow like business rules and the actual way a business runs. And you know, for example, I might say sales by country, and it picks up country for employee location, not country for sales location. So in the back end in the June release, we're adding in a business logic, and that'll be an API-driven approach to start. And eventually, we will later this year put a UI in. So that will really help Insight Advisor return better results. The other thing we've added in here to help it return better results coming out in the June release is you can change your language. So we've added Spanish, French, and Russian. We will add more languages over time. So now it's not just English only, and the user can just simply change the language that they're typing in. This becomes more important as you type in more complex questions. So here I put in something quite a bit more complex. Sales by country in Western Europe, not for frozen foods, between 2017 and 2018. And that comes back to me relatively quick. Of course, if I was typing that in Russian, which I do not know at all, some of those words like not and between and which give the context of the things I'm looking at, are really important to get right. The other thing that we've put in that I think is really important is building this trust. I've actually set this one up specifically so it doesn't fully work. You can see that the certain things that are in bold, that's indicating to me that Qlik understood those words, and there's actually data elements in here. So sales, country, Western Europe, frozen foods are all data elements. Between 2017 and 2018, it didn't pick that up. And I actually had to go in, I'll tell you the truth, I had to go in and like force it to not pick that up just to do this demo. Normally it would pick that up and realize those are dates and say, hey, between 2017 and 2018, and build out that date range for me, but it didn't in this case. And I can actually get the full detail here. And the thing I think is really great here is sometimes I'm picking up some measures. Sometimes I'm picking up specific fields or dimensions, and it's also filtering as well. It filtered on the sub-region Western Europe. So I have that ability to type in, really talk like a real person and bring that in. Down in the visualizations, of course, I get several visualizations here. Come back, the map was what I was looking for. Tooltips came up, and actually there it sort of showed an interesting thing here. It's part of what Patrik was showing is actually this is being run by set analysis in the back end. And that's really key is the thing that's really great about the Insight Advisor, the NLP capability, all those natural language capabilities is we're leveraging the core of what the engine can do. So all that magic that we know as users who interact and people who develop apps, that's available to the AI capabilities. So for example, with Western Europe, I can type in South, and I can pick up Southern Europe, and I can add that to my selections. And now it added Southern Europe as well into my analysis. I can also change from frozen foods, and I can add in baked goods, and that gives me a slightly different analysis again. And that's all written down here. And again, leveraging what we've already have in place is with the measures here is I can add that master item. And actually Patrik and I didn't coordinate completely because he basically demoed the exact same thing in a different spot. But I think it's a great example of the platform showing how when we build things and the way we're building with an API first strategy, we can then leverage things in multiple places. So here, this entire set expression is written out for me. And I can create a master item. I can even coloring on it and so forth, and I create a master item. So it makes this flow really great. And actually, I would argue that starting to write set analysis, the fastest way to do it now is an Insight Advisor. You maybe won't write your full set analysis there if you want to do something, adding extra expressions and so forth. But I often start by doing it through Insight Advisor because it's so quick to do, and then it builds it into a master item right away. So that was a little bit on Insight Advisor. The other major things I wanted to show you was in our SaaS hub. So many of you are probably playing around with it. Most of you are probably still on Windows, but we're doing some things on the cloud side, the SaaS side, that are really making the experience in the hub and bringing it to the next level. And if you go to Qlik World, I'll put a plug in here. There's even more, and I'm going to hold some stuff back, so you have to go to Qlik World to see everything. So this is a view you might have seen before. I have some visualizations here. It's pretty much what I'm used to. But coming shortly, where did that server go? I am on the wrong server. You'll have a whole lot more choices. I'm going to go into an R&D server and show you something coming out later in June. This won't quite make it into the the current June release, but it's going to come a little bit later in June, right before Qlik World, because we're excited about that. Of course, I got to log in to do it. Go. So here I get something quite different. I'm getting a bunch of charts. And these charts are actually coming out of various apps that I had worked on. So now when I'm looking, I can see my apps. I can have links. I didn't set up any links here. These are just external links. I can go to anywhere I want. Often we see it if somebody wants to link back to, say, a Qlik View environment or something like that to give a single experience. And then I have these charts as well. So when I look at one of these charts, let's look at this one here. I can get an expanded view of this. It's not interactive, but I get a quick view of it. And this chart will update every time the app reloads. So I can just keep track of things. If I want to go in and look at that, I can just click on open the app, and that will drop me into the app so I can continue my analysis. So it makes it much easier for users that they don't need to go to a specific chart that's in this app and then look at a chart that's in an app. They can bring it all together and then know where to go. And I kind of think of like the hub. As we evolve the hub, it's really going to be the spot where you go in, and it's going to tell you very quickly whether you can go play golf or you got to go to work that day. It just gives you that quick summary. So there's that chart here, and any chart that I choose, I can say open a snapshot library download. I can also say monitor in hub, and that's how I add it back into the hub. So we think that that's a pretty cool feature, a pretty big feature that makes it much easier for users. One thing you might have also...
One thing you could also...
Yeah, go ahead.
If you go into a chart and if you open it up, one thing I'm really amazed about, and I don't know if you've seen this, is you have a tab on the bottom right called History.
Yeah.
So you actually got
I don't have the history set up because I haven't reloaded this app, but yeah, I get a new... You get a history of all the charts, and you can look at those there, which is a nice thing to see how things have been changing. So you're like, was it like that yesterday? Did I just not notice? You now know. Thanks, Patrick. The other place I wanted to go is when I was on the apps. You might have noticed down here that these look suspiciously like Qlik View apps. So I did mention links before. You can link out to another environment, or you can link out actually anywhere you'd like. But another thing you can do if you are still using Qlik View, you're going through that evolution of adopting Qlik Sense, it's a little tough for the users because it's like, well, where do I go to look for this thing? You can actually put it all into the SaaS hub. So in the Cloud Hub here, I have my charts, I have my Qlik Sense app, and I have Qlik View apps. And if I open one of these apps up, it is a Qlik View app. And the key thing here, notice that I'm actually running this on the same environment. And of course, it's not going to open now. It should open. Let's give it a second. There we go. I'm running this on the same environment. So I'm actually running this inside Qlik Sense. It's running fully in a SaaS environment, and I'm getting a Qlik View experience. So for our customers who are transitioning between Qlik View and Qlik Sense, and like a lot of times the Qlik View apps are still working great. There's no reason to really change them. They just update the data. So it's a really, I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Great example of that. So this user can go in, they get access to Qlik Sense, they get access to Qlik View, they can run in that familiar Qlik View environment, and it all runs actually up in SaaS. So the workloads for the organization to run this are completely pushed over to Qlik. So you can actually start to wind down the investment, so you have an infrastructure on the Qlik View side, and actually, and as you adopt Qlik Sense, you can do it completely in a SaaS cloud environment as well. So, and we've been doing some calculations around this, and moving to SaaS is a major cost saving opportunity for our customers. just to set up a Qlik Sense environment, when you start factoring in all the little things that you maybe don't think about as you need to get some admin, you got to buy some infrastructure or rent something in AWS or Azure. You have time that it takes to get all that set up and things installed, and then you have to upgrade and so forth. We're seeing tens of thousands of dollars in savings in small environments when you really add up the true total cost of ownership. And that's not any different than any installed software situation. And then if you're running a large environment, we're seeing hundreds of thousands of dollars, not millions of dollars in very large environments as well, potential cost savings. So coming to SaaS, we think is a really great thing for our customers, and particularly for our QlikView customers, it makes it really easy to modernize really rapidly. So I did see a few comments and questions come in. So why don't I just pause?
Okay.
Pop
Yeah.
those up, because I find that also helps me direct where I go next, what people are interested.
Yeah, people are curious about history. So do you get a snapshot right before it reloads? Is that how it works?
Yeah. So the history is every time it reloads, it's an image of the chart is what this actually is. So when it reloads, it just keeps the old image, puts it in the history, and then presents on this screen the new image. So you get this is the new image, and then you get the older image of just stack up down here. So and just the first thing I wanted to do was interact on these. These are not interactive charts. This is just like, hey, this is what's going on. And the reason we made that choice is when you start to get the interactive charts, you start to lose some of the association, right? You lose what else is going around the data. So there's a balance here of like, how much do we put everything together? And this is a first step into it.
So one thing I'm slightly incorrect there. If you hover above a data point,
you do get the tooltip.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a mixture of pictures of some chart, but it's also almost like a snapshot. So you can actually get the actual value if needed.
And the charts in the hub, are they available for Qlik Enterprise for Windows?
No, those will be available only in the Cloud Hub.
And is there a limit on how much history saved?
I don't know the answer to that question.
5, I think, or something like that. It's not going to be endless, and it's not going to be every second updates. There's some limitation around that.
Those are the questions I have in the chat.
I got one. Can the administration clear the history? I don't believe the admin can clear the history. This is really user driven. It's not admin driven.
Can you export the history?
Not that I can see. No, I do not believe so. If you're really interested in history of your data, this is a thing where we make design choices. If you really want to keep track of history, the best way to do that is keep track using QVDs. So there's lots of a long history of doing that. Salesforce customers do that quite a lot. Is they, every time they do a refresh, they actually create a new set of QVDs because then they have the history of the change history. There's lots of talk on community about how to do that. But if you're focused on I want to keep the history for historical forecasting and so forth. And then there's also a number of I've seen a lot of really good schemes where maybe your day-to-day history makes a lot of sense for the last month, but then when you go past a month, you look at every weekly history, and then you go back a year and it's monthly history, and I've seen some very, very good cleanliness approaches to keeping history around, but not having keeping a massive data hoarding going on.
I see another question from Trey. Can you speak about any of the feature functions available in the out-of-the-box maps?
I don't have a lot of information on that off the top of my head, so I will probably fumble that and give you that information. But we can connect you up. If you have some specific stuff, just shoot me an email, josh.good@qlik.com, and I can connect you up and get you some of the things you're looking for on maps.
And a question from Stefan. QlikView compatibility running in the SaaS environment. Is that QCS?
Yes. So QCS is Qlik Cloud Services. That's the platform we run our SaaS cloud or service, whatever you want to call them. Some people like to call it SaaS, some people call it cloud. So that is the platform. We only run Qlik Sense in that right now. In the future, we will run our data integration services, our cataloging services will be up in QCS as well. So that's what it is. So Qlik, and what we for naming, if you want to know the precise naming, Qlik Sense Enterprise SaaS, and then there's Qlik Sense Business, are the two editions of Qlik Sense that run as a cloud service. So great. Seems like we've answered most of those questions. I know I'm not sure if I'm the last speaker or not, so I don't want to take up all the time. Those were the things few things I wanted to show. I know that the that I think are really exciting. The NLP stuff is pretty cool. The one thing that I think you'll also may want to see is Qlik Alerting. I didn't bring a demo of that because I want to save some things that I'm demoing at Qlik World and have you come there. But if you're really desperate to see Qlik Alerting as well, there also is some great stuff online, which is it's a pretty great capability just to be able to send out those alerts and then you can be much more action driven versus reactive on things. So that's just one other new thing on the horizon, but we won't address that in depth today, but I thought I'd mention it.
Since you spoke about it, Josh, is there any part of it that is free as far as Qlik Alerting goes?
No, right now, Qlik Alerting is a paid add-on. It's a relatively modest. It's a site level licensing though. So you buy Qlik Alerting and then it's just available for your entire site.
Okay. Thank you.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
So I was reading one article on the LinkedIn yesterday, and it says that Qlik Alerting will be part of the June installation release, Qlik Sense June. So is that something that is going to be available? And it is similar questions that Claudia asked, that will there be anything free when it says it will be part of a June release and you can install it as a part of June release?
That's what that's saying is that the licensing is now integrated. That's all it is. That was what that was about.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, there is one other thing I just thought of that I should show you as well. On the free and so forth is one thing you will see in the SaaS, the Cloud Hub is starting with the June release. If you go into settings, you will now be able to download Qlik Sense Desktop from there, and you'll be able to authenticate Qlik Sense Desktop against Qlik Sense Enterprise SaaS and Qlik Sense Business. That's something that some of you have asked about as well. So that, and we will update and change the various things around desktop tomorrow when the release goes out. But I thought I'd let this group know now while I had you. And so that's in addition to Enterprise on Windows. So you can now use desktop anywhere where you have a user.
All right, so Trey has shared the link on our chat window, and that is from a prior. I don't know if it's a meetup, Trey. You can unmute yourself, but seems like you guys discussed Qlik Alerting. Did you have a demo of it and everything and that? Not sure if you have audio, but anyway, there's a recording.
Sorry. I do. I'm sorry. I had to unmute in two places. So we actually do our user groups. We have Qlik. I'm actually part of one that's based out of Greenville, South Carolina. My company also runs one though that we just did one in the Midwest as well, and we did that one virtually. We have a recording of that up on our Vimeo channel, and we discuss a bunch of things. But in there, we actually have people from Qlik doing a demo of Qlik Alerting on it as well. So feel free to follow through that. It's towards the end, though I don't have an exact time.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions? Any other questions? I don't see any more, Josh.
Great. I'm sure everything will come up with more. So I'll pass it back then. thank everyone for giving us the time, and we're really excited. I find it a little overwhelming sometimes with how many new features we have coming out, which is really great to see. The pace is pretty incredible. So there was a plug James said at the beginning, is the Qlik Insider webinars are great, and also the release blog, the Qlik Innovation blog on community are great ways to keep track of, hey, there's something I need to learn a little bit more about, or something interesting.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Patrik, you trying to speak? I don't know. I thought you were trying to speak. I appreciate both of you joining us today. Shilpan, I don't know if you're at a point where you can speak. I know you have some sessions coming up. I don't know if you want to speak about them. You have a charity one coming up. I'm not quite sure. He was in transit, so I don't know if he's at a point he can share. But we can.
Yeah, Claudia, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
I forgot to give you this slide, but we do have a COVID-19 charity workshop coming up on Saturday, June 13th, and it's for Qlik.org charity partner. So if anyone's interested, actually Dixon and I are going to teach the workshop for the whole day to show how you can build a COVID-19 app from scratch using the actual data from Georgia Department of Health. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It will cover some of these topics that Patrik covered. We're going to use the latest release, of course, not June. We'll use April release and show you how you can build an awesome app from scratch, and including Dix's session on mashup. So don't procrastinate. Please help us with this great initiative by donating a small amount, $99, $100. It's going to be a great cause for all of us. So again, if you haven't seen that, it's on my LinkedIn. I've been posting it for a while. So if anyone interested, please reach out to me and I'll give you the link. Thank you, Claudia.
Yeah, it's for a good cause, so be happy to announce. Well, awesome. And you guys don't forget to sign up for Qlik World if you haven't. Again, it's free, so incredible opportunity. And Patrik and Josh, are you both presenting at Qlik World? I'm assuming so.
Actually not. I'm one of those sweets going on vacation after midsummer.
Oh, you got out of it. Yeah, I am presenting Qlik World. So.
Awesome. We'll see you there. All right, everyone.
Excellent.
Oh, somebody's asking, Shamika is asking, Shilpan, what time on Saturday?
Yeah, it's going to be from 9 till 5. So
Whole day
I'll
event.
send you the link. Yes, whole day.
All right, everyone.
And we're gonna have Vinay Kapoor, who is a product director, and Julie Kay, both speaking at the event in the beginning. So it's gonna be a lot of fun if you can join. Thanks again.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Be safe and healthy. Good to see everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrik and Josh. And thank you, Claudia.
You so much, Joe.
Yeah.
Take care,
and
guys.
thank you, Carolyn. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, it's 12.
At the Qlik internal meetings, we always ask who's wearing shoes, and we get a very low response.
Oh, yeah. Everybody should put in the chat. Are you wearing shoes? I'll be very curious to know.
Sweets don't wear shoes, stay in their own home.
Yeah. A lot of people don't. Yeah. The ones where we know people better, we start asking who has socks on, but we won't do that in this.
Oh, yeah.
But what we ask if people could stand up and show what they have beneath on.
Nope,
the pajamas or the jeans.
You don't want that to happen.
Jeans. I don't know what jeans are. What are jeans?
Right, jeans. Oh my goodness.
I think we're all creating a new look for 2020, and we're gonna all come out on 2021 wearing gym shorts and collared shirts.
Absolutely.